Did she call you out?
Yeah,
Like, did she pull you out of that spot and basically
yeah, yeah. Pulled me out of that spot and
she's
call. You
very
said called
prophetic.
me at.
Yeah,
You said
call
call.
you out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a
Nice.
story.
Okay.
That's a story right there because I come
Can
walking
you
in the
share it?
yeah I come walking in the door one day, and she's sitting behind our desk here, and she looks up at me and she says, "Carlos," she said, "have you been unfaithful to me?"
You use that word.
Yeah. And do you have any other children?
So, from following you on some of your posts on Facebook, it's my understanding that things weren't rosy, always rosy in your marriage. How long have you been married,
Oh yeah.
and without uncovering your wife?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I'm married. I've been married 14 years,
Congratulations.
but yeah, um, but it's not always rosy.
No.
But what is from reading your Facebook posts and following your story, your public story? I understand there's a story of redemption there.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Like, can you give me some details?
yeah, details. Yeah, man. Well, we're involved with a program called Reengage at our church, and that's what we post about hard times. We post about how we've overcome, how we've just how God used others in our lives to come out on the other side. But yes, I can give you details. Um, we've shared our
I guess some
testimony.
examples.
Yeah, yeah. We've shared this testimony um, many times to literally hundreds and hundreds of couples in Reengage and outside of Reengage and other places that we serve. So we're kind of an open book and testimony in that aspect of like, hey, our marriage has not always been great.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, there has been a lot of turmoil in our marriage caused by myself, yours truly, Um, here's a good place to start. God speaks to me through a lens of business, right? I'm intrigued with business. I love business. I have failed tremendously in a lot of business, and I've succeeded some in business. But the Lord showed me through this, and this is directly related to marriage and the troubles and everything that the I'm just setting the backdrop of kind of
sure.
like where it's coming from. Is there are problems that happen in our business and construction. They're just obstacles, right? There's things that you overcome. It's daily that you overcome obstacles. You guys have just done this beautiful remodel, and there was always the next obstacle, the next obstacle, the next challenge, the next challenge, right? So that's what a general contractor lives. That's the kind of life that you live on 7 different projects. So you have 7 of these going on at one time,
And
right?
you were a general contractor for a
Yes, I
long
was.
time.
And so that pressure, right? The pressure of overcoming obstacles. So I've made bad business decisions and I've learned from them. Those are my degrees. I tell everybody those are my degrees. Everybody has to pay. I think we counted up $369,000 is what I spent on my degree in business. Either you go through a 4-year university and pay, some good amount of money, or you just go through life. Either way, you have to pay. There's no like pass go, like, oh, you get to go
Oh,
just
you're an
straight.
expert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You did. So I've got
You have the
diplomas.
Midas touch.
I have diplomas hanging on my wall. And my secretary, our office manager, I said, when we pay this off, you got to frame this when we get the last, like,
$50,000
yeah, yeah,
debt.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was like, and so we put it on our wall, and I was like, so what does that mean? It means that the Lord showed me through business that there's these 2 points. There's the time a problem arises to the provision. Problem to provision. We always know that God provides. He's never not provided. God has never not provided. And because we know the outcome, God started showing me, what are you going to do while you're waiting?
Mm.
What are you going to do while you're waiting?
In the hallway, what are you doing?
You can get depressed. You can have a beer or two. You can stop in at a local bar. You can,
Kick the dog.
yeah, kick
That's
the
what
dog.
I did.
Yeah, you can,
Don't
yeah,
kick the dog.
yeah, don't kick the
It's never
dog.
good.
Cut somebody off in traffic.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. You're just angry. You're mad. You can be upset. It could lead you to making irrational decisions.
Yes.
And I made some bad decisions in that space. I made some very bad decisions, and I was unfaithful to my wife, and it broke me. You know, it broke me, and so, because breaking her heart, you know, was like unbearable. Right? It created a narrative of just not telling her. You know, like if I tell her, then her heart's going
So
to be
you
broken.
cheated on your wife, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. I was
just
I was unfaithful. Yeah, I was unfaithful. Yeah, I was
Call it what
unfaithful.
it- call it what it
It's
is.
unfaithful, man.
Right.
Yeah, it's unfaithful because it's critical that we use the word unfaithful because the fruit of the spirit is faithfulness.
Faithfulness. Yeah.
Yeah. And so to know faithfulness like the way that I understand it currently, see, I currently understand faithfulness. It's still going to grow and mean more as the years come along because that's how life reveals itself to us. It's realizing that faithfulness now because in the unfaithfulness, I knew how dark that was, how destructive that was. And so it's important to use, and I'm glad you said that. Yeah, cheating, when people are cheating on your wife, listen, when you say you've cheated on your wife, man, you've cheated a little bit on your, you know, this, you've cheated a little bit on that. So everybody has done some kind of little cheat here and there. It's like, oh, a little cheat
It's
here.
okay.
Yeah, a little cheat. So when we use the word cheating on your wife, it's like, yeah, there's little cheats.
We all do it.
Yeah, on video games, guess what there are?
Cheat codes.
Cheat codes, right? So we're programmed with this programming of just like it's cheating. No, it's unfaithfulness. You broke something here. This unfaithfulness, which is the opposite of the fruit of my spirit. I want to deal with you in that. So the reason why, I don't know, it's not hard, but it's foreign even speaking about this because in this way, what I'm about to say is when we take that 2mm shift that we started the conversation off with, okay, did this happen to us or did this happen for us? Because it formed me and shaped me and grew me and matured me. And Amy stuck around. And I tell this in Reengage all the time. I said, the Lord, and I tell them, when the Lord helped me pull my head from my backside so I could see. And now I realize that Amy is the best thing that God could have ever given me, aside from salvation. She's it. And so I used to hear cats like me get up and talk about that, and I would hear them like sitting out here. You're sitting here like, oh man, I hear, old cats or old timers talk like that. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to what I'm saying, because as a young cat, I'm like, I got this all figured out. I'm 20 some years old. You don't even know. I've got this, I've got this sit down. And then these challenges start appearing and the obstacles get bigger and you're like, oh snap. So all the things that these old timers used to tell me, and I used to kind of like chuckle or roll my eyes at, they were spitting truth, yo. Like they were talking in headlines. There were a lot of details that they left out. But if you pulled them out, pulled somebody out after a meeting, they'll tell you about the details. But so anyhow, I was unfaithful to my wife, and amongst other things, with that comes lying. You lie, and so there was trust that was broken, and because I knew it all, that I didn't create a safe place for my wife to unpack her thoughts, feelings, or emotions, because I was so offensive and so defensive, living in that dark cloud that I still was living under, and so pornography to children and the long-term effects of that it's like, and molestation or touching children inappropriately. That's like that's like helping me get in prison. You know what I mean? It's like not just you're putting some. I mean, who would want to put that on a little boy? Who would want to put that on a little girl? I don't know, but it happens, and it happened to me, and here I am on the other side of it. So, getting back to Amy and I, we get to share our testimony with small groups of friends. We've spoken in front of large groups of friends and told them our story, more details. But it's both her and I sharing, and she shares and I share, and she shares.
She's not here today.
Yeah. But
I do
she's
want to get her on the show, by the way.
yeah, Amy, for sure. She would be a good guest
She's
for
a
you.
firecracker.
Man, she is. She's just what I
Spits
needed.
truth.
Man, she does spit truth, man. That's what I'm saying. So, see, God knew what I needed even before I knew I needed it.
Did she call you out?
Yeah.
Like, did she pull you out of that spot? And basically,
Yeah. Pulled me out of that spot and
She's
called.
very
You said
prophetic.
called me at.
yeah,
You said
call you out.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a story.
Okay.
That's a story right there, because I come walking
you
in
share it?
I come walking in the door one day, and she's sitting behind our desk here, and she looks up at me and she says, "Carlos," she said, "have you been unfaithful to me?"
You use that word.
Yeah. And do you have any other children? And it was heavy. And the Lord had been preparing me, because he's like, whenever, now listen, this is the important in the vibration.
You're going to have to tell her. You're going to have to tell her.
Well, here's the thing, is the truth sets us free,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the Lord had been telling me, no, you're going to speak. I said, give me the strength and the courage, Lord, when it's time to do it. Like, I want that. And I don't want to miss a beat. I want to just say yes. And so, because I had been knowing that God had been preparing me, and so all under the guise of like, man, I don't want to break her heart again. Not that I want to hide it from. Yes, hide it from her. Duh, you've been unfaithful. But I didn't want her to feel the pain that I've seen her feel in her life throughout her life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I said, Lord, when it's your time, it's your time. So, anyhow, I walked in the door and she said, have you been faithful? Do you have other children? And I said, yes. She says, to both? And I said, yes. And so, I told her a story about, in high school that, well, it's complicated, but it's not that I had other children, because I don't have any other children. The only children I have are, the children that we have. But there was an abortion in there, and that's another story. And so there was a lot of weight in that. So here's black cloud upon black cloud on this life chart of, successes and failures, milestones and destruction, hitting goals, and the valley.
Failing.
Yeah. And so all of this compounds, and this is how the healing starts to come, is by exposing those things that are like dark, and bringing them to light. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
It doesn't answer my question. I feel like you got more testimony.
Bro, I do, man.
Like, God's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, just in the short time of you sharing your life, you've touched on subjects such as molestation, unfaithfulness, abortion, marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think that society as a whole and our listeners, like, are relating to every bit of it. Like, I personally haven't gone that journey. Like, I haven't been on that journey.
Okay.
But I can totally empathize, and I'm like, knowing who you are today,
Mm-hmm.
all credit can only go to him.
Yeah.
Like I look at you and I'm
Yeah.
like, but thank you, Jesus,
Amen.
because there's a lot of people that we know or are total strangers to us, but they're out there
Yeah.
that can identify with at least part of that story,
Sure.
and they are not in a place currently on the other side of it because they're still bound by guilt and shame, and they're holding the key.
Yeah.
They don't know it.
Don't know it. Don't know how to use it. So I started asking better questions. Remember I said we need to start asking better questions. So I started saying, here's a good one. And I need to give you a financial one too, a financial testimony, because there's so many financial testimonies that the Lord has. And also I've served time in solitary confinement. Yeah, bro.
You've been in prison?
Well, I got sentenced, and my first 14 days I had to spend in solitary confinement. But I had never
Okay,
been.
take us back to. You kind of just. Are you able to share?
Yeah, of course.
Like,
That was a
we're
long
not
time,
gonna have FBI knock on our door.
No.
Like, what did you do?
Wait.
That